right now to await word of exactly where Fotis Dulos is going. You saw the video earlier, live shot of LifeStar helicopter parked outside the Yukon Health Center in Farmington. We're told that he will be flown from there. A source close to the Fotis Dulos team has told me that he will be taken to the hyperbaric chamber at Bridgeport Hospital.
Yeah, to see if they can
specializes in this sort of thing.
Help give him some more oxygen to his lungs for that carbon monoxide poisoning. You just saw a presser about 10 minutes ago from state police as well as Farmington police. They were outside Fotis Dulos' Farmington home updating the media on the situation, remaining tight-lipped on a number of items, but they did say Fotis Dulos was found alone in the home. He was in his vehicle in the garage, suffering from an apparent attempted suicide. They did perform CPR on him, and he does have a slight pulse, was taken to Yukon Health Center. Eva Zamaris, who was just reporting from the scene there, was mentioning to us that at around 11:18, 11:20, a woman was seen on the Farmington property. Right now, police are not identifying who that woman was, and the call came into police around 11:54 for a welfare check. They arrived at the home of Fotis Dulos around noon because he had not shown up to a court appearance, an emergency bond hearing that was set to take place in Stamford today. That's what triggered this whole investigation.
And once again, you are looking at Drone 3 video of the Farmington mansion where Fotis Dulos lived and tried to die here today, according to authorities. We're being told by sources that he attempted suicide in the garage using carbon monoxide in a car there, from a car there. He was pulled out, given CPR, and now we're moving on to Farmington. This is outside the Yukon Health Center. There you see the LifeStar helicopter. Mike's going to explain the situation there, why the helicopter is where it is. It's not like other hospitals where there is a helipad ready to go.
Now, police in that press conference would not tell us whether Fotis Dulos was leaving Yukon Health Center, but your sources, Dennis.
Well, state police earlier reported to us that he was leaving. That's where that came from. I know our producer Jamie told me that it had just come from state police. They announced that he was indeed being moved. As to where he's being moved, that remains to be seen.
So that helicopter is on standby. You can see fire department right there, ambulance, as well as other emergency personnel attempting to lock down this scene there, prevent onlookers from really stopping and creating any kind of commotion. You see a little movement there, but that LifeStar helicopter is ready to bring Fotis Dulos, apparently your sources are saying, to Bridgeport.
This is what I was told by my source. And because of the layout here, we assume maybe he'll come by ambulance to that helicopter because it's not right next to the emergency room or wherever he's being treated right now.
It'll be interesting to find out, too. Earlier, there were reports that he was deceased, and then we learned that was not true, that he had a slight pulse and was being brought to Yukon Health Center after CPR was performed, I believe police said, for about 10 minutes. And now they will be looking to bring him to that hyperbaric chamber in hopes of providing him with some more oxygen and hopefully so that he would be able to survive.
Detectives and investigators certainly still have some questions for him, namely, where is Jennifer Dulos' body? That is the big unanswered question in all of this. And if he does, obviously innocent until proven guilty, but if he does know where she is, that secret would have gone with him today had he been successful in his suicide attempt.
You have to think also that just a few days ago, he was in court for an issue with him violating the terms of his bond. He was on house arrest, but he was given the ability to go to work. He was given the ability to go to the grocery store as long as he had permission to do so. But on one day, on his way back to his home, he apparently touched and removed some items that were supposedly a memorial to Jennifer Dulos in front of his home, and that's why he was back in court, because obviously that was something he was not supposed to be doing.
Something appears to be happening here. They might be holding up a sheet to prevent the media from seeing exactly what is going on here, unless that sheet is for the stretcher, but I don't think so. I think they're probably, this is often done to
protect his privacy.
Protect the privacy of the patient, first of all, and obviously there are reporters lined up. That's exactly what they're doing. They want to conceal what's going on here, but so this, again, no confirmation of this, but we are told that Fotis Dulos is going to be being flown, so he could be in this ambulance.
Yeah, you can see some movement coming from that ambulance. They are holding up that white sheet, blocking the stretcher right there as they continue to move it from that emergency vehicle. Right to the left of there is that LifeStar helicopter. Presumably that's where they are bringing that right now.
And we're going to be seeing that. We were told by state police that Fotis Dulos is going in that helicopter, and so we have not been told of anyone else getting in that helicopter. So that's the information we're going to go with from state police. Just about an hour ago, we were told that he would be, actually more than an hour ago, that he was going to be flown to another hospital.
He has a slight pulse, we are told at the moment. You could see for a second there some medical equipment being brought above the white sheet that was placed right there. And you also saw something being removed from that ambulance as potentially this stretcher is going to make its way to that LifeStar helicopter, which is situated just to the left of the screen there.
And we just saw a police cruiser pull up.
So we are obviously going to stay on this shot and see what we can glean from this video as we are taking live pics right now. This is outside UConn Health Center. It
appears by the slight movement I just saw in the legs of the stretcher there that maybe he is already on the stretcher and now they're going to be moving him over there. And again, Mike Savino explained why he is here and not, and there you see.
All right, so no one is on that stretcher to the left.
Maybe they're pulling it the other way so that maybe he's still in the...
They're definitely trying to block whatever is occurring behind that sheet.
There are two stretchers, it appears. And they will transfer him from one onto the other, which this stretcher presumably will go onto the helicopter. But they definitely don't want the curious eyes of the media seeing exactly who is on that, even though they have told us it will be Fotis Dulos. Fotis Dulos, 52 years old, he is the accused killer in the case of Jennifer Dulos, accused of killing his wife over Memorial Day weekend last summer, on that Friday of Memorial Day weekend. He was arrested on other charges the following week, but not arrested for the murder until just a couple of weeks ago.
They share 5 children who are currently living with Jennifer's mother, Gloria Farber, in New York City under armed protection. They did release a statement today, her family, but they did not address the latest revelations in this case and the situation that Fotis Dulos is involved with right now. Still no movement behind that sheet, but obviously it is something they're trying to obscure from our eyes as well as other prying eyes. Mike had mentioned that there were a number of onlookers. This is a case that has really captivated people all across the state and all across the country. You see this huge mansion and you think maybe there's this picture-perfect situation, and now we finally do have some movement. You can see that stretcher being brought behind that white sheet, behind that LifeStar helicopter right there.
And he'll be put into the LifeStar helicopter and brought to a hospital. A source had earlier told me today that he was going to the hyperbaric chamber at Bridgeport Hospital. I just got information from that same person who says that may have to change due to the capacity in Bridgeport. It may not be available at this time, and so it may be going to New York. That's what I'm told by my source. So we'll have to wait and see.
But as you can see, Fotis Dulos right now being presumably put on this LifeStar helicopter to be brought to another hospital. I believe UConn Health Center is just a level 2 center, so obviously they're looking for a hospital with hyperbaric chambers to treat this need from the carbon monoxide poisoning that he suffered from that suicide attempt in his garage.
This is the closest to his home, only a couple of miles away. He came in by ambulance. Shortly after 12:30, he was brought in.
Just so many twists and turns in this case.
Absolutely.
It's one of those things that I think, I was talking to a number of people today. You see people in the grocery store, people want to talk to you about this case.
Everybody wants to know about it.
It's a heartbreaking situation on so many levels with so many twists and turns and ups and downs, and first hearing that Fotis Dulos was dead and then learning that he indeed had a pulse after this suicide attempt. Still wondering where Michelle Troconis is. We do know Kent Mawhinney is in prison and remains there. He has not been released on bond, where Michelle Troconis was. But this is just something that has interested people, and still no sign, Dennis, as you mentioned, of Jennifer's body, although a lot of evidence was collected by police, and that was laid out in those pages and pages of arrest warrants, where we learned about the dumping of clothes and other evidence in Hartford that was seen on surveillance video. Police, as we know, were searching the trash for weeks, trying to comb through. Very difficult job, looking to capture any evidence that they could. Investigators have worked painstakingly on this case to try to bring justice to Jennifer Dulos and her family.
And the graphic you see on our screen says, Fotis Dulos has pulse after suicide attempt. That has now been confirmed by police. Initially, what had happened was, after it was announced, multiple sources had told us and other media organizations that he was dead. Norm Fotis came out and said, no, he has a pulse, he is alive. And of course, state police confirmed that, along with Farmington police, in that brief news conference you saw live on Channel 3 just about 45 minutes ago.
You just saw the doors close on the LifeStar helicopter. This is at UConn Health Center, where Fotis Dulos was transported from his Farmington home, which is very nearby, after his suicide attempt. He was just taken from that ambulance behind a white sheet to obscure our vision and give him some privacy, as well as responders there, and he was loaded onto that LifeStar helicopter, potentially going to now a hospital in New York, Dennis.
Absolutely. This is what we're hearing from someone very close, member of, someone very close to Fotis Dulos has told me this. This is where he's going to be headed.
It is still a very serious situation. He remains in critical condition with only a slight pulse after this suicide attempt. He was in his garage alone and inside his vehicle when police received a welfare check call around 11:54 this morning, and they headed to his home around noon, and in one of his 5 garage bays found him and attempted CPR, and Drone 3 captured a lot of that aftermath, with police tenting off the area as they look to revive Fotis Dulos after his attempted suicide.
So once this helicopter takes off, of course, it'll focus on what is next. Number one, where is it going? What is his condition? Lieutenant Tim McKenzie of Farmington Police said there might be an update a little bit later on today, although we don't know for certain. He didn't know exactly what time that would be, if that would be, in fact.
And police are remaining at the scene of Fotis Dulos' home in Farmington. They said they will be there for a number of hours, looking to collect any evidence that may be in the garage or as well in the house. Reporters did ask whether Fotis Dulos had left any type of suicide note, but investigators said at this point they could not comment on that. There was also a lot of talk about a woman who showed up at Fotis Dulos' home around 11:20 this morning and left about 10 minutes later. She is meeting with investigators at the moment. As you see, this helicopter looks and appears as it is going to take off any moment.
Carrying Fotis Dulos, the accused killer of his wife, Jennifer Dulos. This all began about 3.5 hours ago, right here on Channel 3 with Eyewitness News at noon. You saw we were reporting on an emergency bond hearing that Fotis Dulos was due to show up at in Stamford. He did not show up there. We later learned that at 11:54, 6 minutes before our news began, that they received a welfare call, Farmington Police, to go check on him because he had not shown up in court. And they went over there, and you saw it unfold live on television. About 12:05, he was pulled from a garage bay, and they began to administer CPR. We do know from our reporters on the scene, Eva Zamaris and Courtney Zeller, that a woman came to visit him at about 10 minutes past 11, didn't stay there all that long, probably left around 11:20 or so. We don't know her name yet, but her name is on the bond paperwork, we're told. She is an indemnitor and a friend of Fotis Dulos. What they talked about, if she even saw him, we don't know yet. But we do know that about a half an hour after she left, that's when the welfare call was made to Farmington police, they went over there and they found him.
And you'd have to think that welfare call did not come from her, presumably, because she had, you're talking about a 34-minute time gap where she left. But police are interviewing her to see if perhaps she did speak to Fotis, if she saw anything. You know, at this point, we don't know exactly when this transpired, when Fotis Dulos entered that garage and turned his vehicle on.
And why she went there, because he was supposed to be en route to Stamford at that hour. It's a good hour and a half from Farmington to Stamford. And he was still in the house, obviously, when she went there.
Police did mention he was alone in the house at the time of this attempted suicide. No one else was in the house. Eva Zamaris and other reporters were asking about the status of especially Michelle Troconis, Fotis Dulos's girlfriend, and where she may be. She is out on bond after being charged with conspiracy to commit murder. Kent Mawhinney, Fotis Dulos's attorney in the civil case, also charged with conspiracy to commit murder. However, he is in prison right now. He was never able to get out on bond. This is a live look right now at a LifeStar helicopter at UConn Health Center. This is where Fotis Dulos was transported. It's only a couple miles away from his Farmington home, so it was a quick trip by ambulance for him to get there. And apparently he has now been transported into that LifeStar helicopter, which is just taking off as we watch live right now.
There you see it taking off from UConn Health Center in Farmington, just a couple miles from the Dulos mansion, where he tried to kill himself today in his garage. And again, big speculation as to where this helicopter is going. A source earlier told me that it was going to be Bridgeport Hospital, the hyperbaric chamber. That same source now says it may be a hospital in New York due to some lack of room there to take him at Bridgeport Hospital.
And as we continue to try to track this LifeStar helicopter, you could see it right there again. We did see moments ago an ambulance from UConn Health Center. It was covered with a sheet, probably to obscure our vision of Fotis Dulos, who was being put on that stretcher and into the LifeStar helicopter.